What up, our beautiful
Hi,
family?
guys.
We have not forgot about our Aldi's trip. We are going there. I know we promised that, but
Definitely.
bear with us. Like I said, y'all know our schedule over here. But with that being said, if you're new, hit that subscribe before I dive in any further. Our links to other channels down below if you can't get enough of us. And we're
Let's dive
heading
in.
into top 10 most important moments in British history. I'm curious to know.
I want to know if I learned any of these.
Yeah, that's what
I
I
want to know if I learned or
You
heard of
know,
any of these in school.
And
And were they big? Like,
Yeah.
you know, like life-changing or anything?
So let's find out. Hopefully America ain't got their hands in that and messing up stuff over there.
Stop.
For this list, we're looking at some of the key moments that have propelled Britain forward in the last 1,000 years. Obviously,
We're
we
going
can't
back far.
cram a millennium's worth of history into one video, so don't be surprised if there are some significant events we haven't covered just yet. Number 10, the failure of the Commonwealth.
I will give this nation back
I've heard of
its
that.
self-respect.
The Protectorate was a period that took place during the Commonwealth when England, Ireland and Scotland were under the rule of Lord Protector Oliver Cromwell and subsequently his son Richard Cromwell. This was the only time in history that England had republican rule. Monarchists referred to this period as the interregnum, a time when there was no ruler on the throne of England. This resulted in the Restoration, which took place the following year. The demise of the republican rule still allowed many of the recently established democratic institutions to remain, which have endured until modern times. Number 9, American colonies declare their independence.
We are chasing the bastards back to Boston, and we'll keep them there.
Prior to 1776, what we now
Not to be a little off topic, but it's so crazy because I don't know any of these movies, and they're movies that are talking about history.
Well, wait, you gotta think a lot of their stuff.
Well, those were known actors.
Yeah, but America, what we're learning now, only reason you find out about foreign stuff now is because of Netflix is now combining us together with UK stuff,
Oh, yeah.
India stuff.
But I'm saying those were American
But
actors.
it don't matter. There's a plenty of stuff that our people, even their people, has come over to our flicks, and you won't find out till later. Like you
The
think
Patriot I have watched.
think about it. Think about all the UK actors right now we know about. You think there wasn't a million UK actors before then acting in
Oh,
movies
yeah,
we just didn't know
definitely.
because they didn't use their UK accents? But
Oh,
now
yeah.
America wants to be like, oh yeah, this person's from the UK. How many UK actors before we start doing that? Probably a million. You know what I'm saying? So it's probably like they just didn't push it over here. That's probably what it was.
know as the United States of America was simply a collection of 13 colonies on the east coast bordering the Atlantic. Residents there were becoming increasingly dissatisfied with the British rule and had been waging war on the Brits for more than a year. Finally, by the summer of 1776, all 13 of the colonies had agreed to segregate from England. Thomas Jefferson drafted the Declaration of Independence, which was then adopted by Congress. The American War of Independence was not yet finished. It would go on for another 5 years.
When you were in school, did you have to learn the Declaration of
Oh
Independence?
yeah, we learned about it. Yeah.
We had to know it by heart, and then that was like our test, is to say it out loud.
This is probably the most popular, one of the popular stories
Yeah,
in the
Declaration of
history that they talk
Independence,
about
definitely.
in America. So this is one we are familiar with. Very.
Number 8, the Great Fire of London.
I never heard of that
In the
one,
summer of
actually.
1666, a blaze engulfed the city of London, destroying almost everything in its path. 13,200 houses were taken, as well as 87 churches. It's estimated that the vast majority of London residents lost their homes to the fire. Strangely, amid all this destruction, there were hardly any reports of deaths taking place due to the fire. Historians have established several reasons for this. Firstly, the deaths of commoners were not always recorded, and secondly, the bodies may have been completely incinerated, leaving no evidence of how many really perished.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how deep did they really go to look? Like today, when a fire or something, they gotta dig through there, find bones. Like how I wouldn't say like how, because they were smart back then. They
But
made it like
it
they
just
was
wasn't
like
in the thought. To
I just
like,
hate how
let me see what this looks like.
history portrays people back then like stupid,
Yeah.
like rocks. Like oh they didn't know. I just felt like they probably was like so much disaster happened. They probably was like I'm not going to go search
I
and
can see
see
that. I can see that.
if there's people in it. Like because what are we gonna accomplish? They didn't have the science to be like oh this is such and such.
Yeah,
do
yeah,
DNA on it or
Yeah,
it's just
true.
bones at this point.
I feel like they were still trying to figure out if this is poisonous or this is healthy.
Yeah, we gotta rebuild.
The city had to be entirely rebuilt, and some historians believe the fire was actually beneficial in a way because it eliminated many unsanitary and plague-infected buildings.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Number 7, the Peasants' Revolt.
Is this some sort of peasant joke that I'm too rich to understand?
In the 14th century, British commoners had a lot to be upset about. The plague had recently wiped out a huge portion of the population,
learned
which
about
meant
the
that
plague.
labourers were able to demand more money because workers were no longer so readily available. The government, however, set the Ordinance of Labourers, which cemented wages at the low amounts they were before the Black Death. They also levied a poll tax to fund the war against the French.
That's what it's called, the Black Death. I've heard of that one. So I
Yeah, the
think
plague,
that's
we
what-
learned about that one.
The plague too.
You
but
know
I've
what's
heard of
so
Black Death.
crazy? The plague as a kid scarred me. Like
Yes,
reading about it, I thought we were gonna
yes.
get taken out again by some rats or something. I was scared. I was like, "Oh, rats gonna come again. We get the plague." But it's so crazy because now I don't know how true it is.
That was
but
like our That was like our COVID.
they're saying right now, like maybe not even a month ago, maybe like one person in the States came down with some virus that's close to the plague. So now they trying to act like we about to go through the zombie apocalypse again. You know, they're like, oh, I forgot where it was too. It was close. They're like a person that came down with the bubonic plague, and it's the first case in America. I'm like, y'all just keep creating stuff, coming up with anything. The plague ain't back. Stop, people. Ain't no plague back. The fastest this is moving, the way we learned about it in history, if that plague was back and that one person got it, it would have spread it fast.
Like how it was with Ebola.
Yeah, this was moving, they said, like fast, like taking people out. So if that plague was deadly, the one that they say now,
I mean, in my opinion, I feel like
why ain't nobody got it?
their plague was like our coronavirus.
Yeah.
which ate up even more of the peasants' wages. All of this led to the Great Rising of 1381, which had an impact on the 100 Years' War because authorities were not able to raise taxes for funding as they had for prior conflicts. Number 6, the suffragette movement is formed.
What would the vote mean to you, Mrs. Watts?
Though the women's suffrage movement had been underway for
think I
several
heard that
years
term.
already, 1903 marked an important event in British history. The Women's Social and Political Union was created by Emmeline Pankhurst and
I
others,
think I remember
which
this
took
one.
direct action to further their goals. The First World War put a pause on suffrage campaigning, though there was still some progress. Many cite 1918 as the year that women in the UK gained the right to vote, but in fact, at that point it excluded women under the age of 30, as well as those who didn't independently own property.
Wow.
It was only a decade later in 1928 that all women were granted the right to cast a vote.
Did they say regret it? Did he say regret it, right?
No.
Oh, I thought it
I
sounded
don't
like he
hear
said.
regret it.
I think I do remember the suffrage. What the suffrage? Yeah, I think I remember learning about
suffragette,
that movement.
something
I think I remember that movement. They're talking about it. I know they talk about. I wonder if that timeline lines up with ours when women rights were fighting over here. I wonder if their timeline.
Oh yeah, like with that one girl where she
Had the
had
muscles
yeah
and-
the muscle and the bandana. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if their timeline like lines up
Or
close to
one
ours.
lady, not girl.
With that. But I think I do remember learning about that in history about their movement.
Number 5, the end of World War II. The entire period of the Second World War, ranging from 1939 to 1945, was evidently a remarkable time in the history of the United Kingdom. Of the many things that came of the war, one of the most notable was a push for a bigger and more intervening government. The welfare of people during wartime had become a government problem that was dealt with to the satisfaction of the population. A spirit of community-mindedness was also fostered by the difficult times of war, and the British people came out of the conflict with strengthened class relationships, which would lead to more left-leaning social policies moving forward. Number 4, Henry VIII severs ties with the church.
For the church, this won't end well.
Yeah, I heard his name.
I'm sending in my man Cromwell.
Henry VIII is probably most famous for his 6 wives, 2 of whom he had beheaded, and it was his desire to end his marriage with his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, that spurred on one of the key events in British
Oh
history.
my gosh.
I don't know if I learned about this, Henry.
Yeah.
He beheaded 2 of his wives,
What did he
and he had
do?
6.
Yeah, so he ended up with 4.
Man,
Well, then he wanted to divorce one, so like.
the time of living back then
Ugh! You pissed me off.
was something. It was something.
crazy.
The rules that they lived by was something.
I think the craziest one is like when we watched, when I started the Game of Thrones and like how, well, even back then in the movie, like I think it's like Sparta or something like that. I don't know.
That's a show too, Spartacus.
Or something. I don't know this one, but it's when like they put
They're
the
actually
heads.
bringing that to Netflix.
When they
I
put
just
the
seen last
heads
night.
on the spikes, like
Yeah.
who does why?
I never watched Spartacus all the way through. I just know there's a lot of nasty scenes in it. I do know
I
that.
don't know. I forgot what movie it's like they did that a lot.
Catherine was unable to give Henry the male heir he so needed,
Oh.
so he petitioned Pope Clement VII to annul his marriage. When he was refused, he took the radical step of severing ties with Rome and started the
take somebody
English
else's.
Reformation. He named himself Supreme Head of the Church of England and was excommunicated from the Roman Catholic Church, though he always remained true to his Catholic upbringing. Number 3, the Magna Carta was signed.
Without Lord
I remember
Magna
learning about the
Carta
Magna
sounds
Carta.
familiar.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
heard
that
about it.
was-
There is
that
nothing.
sounds familiar.
The Magna Carta, which can be translated to the Great Charter, is one of history's most revered and renowned documents. It was
It's
instituted
refreshing
by
my
King
mind.
John of England, and the
on my
premise
test.
behind
It
it
was
was
test
to
question.
ensure that every citizen, including the monarchy, would be subject to the law of the land.
Why are we keep seeing horrible histories? Like, is this making fun of like the history moments?
They probably are.
Because it's like
skits probably.
Yeah,
though.
that's funny.
I remember learning about it. This is a test question. I remember this. This is like one of the ones I remember to study on the test.
Much of the text has been edited since its inception, and
Oh.
very few of the clauses remain in modern law. But nonetheless, the Magna Carta is the basis of the British Constitution. Many principles represented in the document have been influential in bills of rights around the world.
Ooh,
Number 2, the Battle of Waterloo.
Remember the
I know
Battle of Waterloo?
Waterloo.
your emperor?
Isn't that a drink now?
Here I am.
On June 18th, 1815, Napoleon and his army marched to the Belgian
Napoleon, I
village of
remember him.
Waterloo to fight against the Duke of Wellington and his army of Brits,
remember
Germans,
this
and
one.
Belgians. Napoleon made some critical strategic errors which led to his troops losing the battle. This victory for England marked the end of France's dominance in Europe and a return to the previous power Britain had exerted for centuries. The result of this conflict is thought to have an impact on world history as well, bringing in a period of relative peace which allowed for technical innovations and
I
prosperity.
remember watching a movie on that.
Number 1, the Battle of Hastings.
That one sounds
Nearly
familiar,
1,000
but I
years ago, the face of England was forever changed. In a battle won by William the Conqueror, the Anglo-Saxon King Harold was killed with an arrow through the eye. The outcome of the Battle of Hastings impacted British life, culture, and language in innumerable ways. The language of official documents became Latin, but of even more impact was the influence of the French language over English, especially in the tradition of names. Traditional Anglo-Saxon names began to disappear in favor of French names that we today consider inherently English, like William, Henry, and Robert.
I'm glad that I knew a little bit. Like, I knew some. So, A for effort on that. That means I was paying attention in class. But,
Yeah, I
you know
remember-
what's so crazy? Like, this is a little off subject, but still on the subject. I never understood what was the difference between, like, history and social studies. I never understood the two. Like, why is it not the same thing? Is it not social studies history?
Really close. I think it is in the ballpark.
Like, I never understood, like, oh, it's like when I think it's history, it's like it says social studies. Or when I say social studies, it's history. I'm like, what?
I think it was all the same. I think it's just as you got older, I think the subject changed.
Oh.
I think that's what it was. But I do remember, like, okay, so I'm actually, like, probably, like, what was it, like 10 of these, I think? So probably
we
like
were, like,
7 or 8.
seven.
It was
Yeah,
up there.
I
Yeah,
thought it
that
was
we
about
studied in
6, 7.
school. I wonder if they still teach this
6,
type of stuff
7.
in school. Because, think about it. We were 90s babies, right? So that history, like, was, some of that was kind of close. Not like 1600 stuff.
Yeah, but
The stuff that happened in the 1900s,
I mean, but do they really talk about stuff that
I
happened?
wonder now that we like
No.
2025, like as history still stuff keeps making history, do they just cut certain parts of history out? Like we not going back to 1800s
you're
no more.
right.
We're gonna start at the 1900s now.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good question.
Like,
That's
I
a
wonder
good
if they still learn
question.
about stuff like this, but this is cool to see. It's crazy that we. I wonder for us. So do they teach? Or do y'all just hate us that much? Do they teach like American stuff over there in the UK? Like, do y'all learn about
Right,
that
or
stuff?
this strictly like.
Or do y'all just
UK
like, nah,
stuff?
we don't need to know nothing about them.
Yeah, that
Forget
is
America.
Look at you on good questions today.
Cut America off. Ain't learning nothing
Yeah,
about
definitely.
them.
That's a question. Like, do y'all learn about like U.S. history?
They turn the page. This is America. That's it.
Yeah, right.
Next chapter. But as always, thank y'all for tuning in with us once again. See y'all on the next one.